on various fields, including art and culture, healthcare, environment, education, and many more. Each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss any part of the session or would like to go through the previous sessions, kindly visit our website, wishwa.org, or our YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and type WishwaTalks, and you can find the full library of past WishwaTalks on various interesting topics. It is often said that meaningful change is not driven not only by those in the spotlight, but also by those working tirelessly behind the scenes to shape ideas into impact. Our speaker today is one such individual. Dr. Veeresh S. Walli is an agricultural economist and a millet value chain expert and independent strategic consultant. He's currently contributing to agri-value chain and development projects in Asia and Africa, working closely with partners from UNDP and other development sector partners in India. He's previously served as the Chief Business Manager at NutriHub, ICAR, Indian Institute of Millet Research, Hyderabad. Over the years, he has worked at the intersection of agriculture, food systems, entrepreneurship, and innovation and policy advocacy. His work has contributed to some of India's most significant millet initiatives. He played an important role in drafting task force reports and contributing to the national strategy for the International Year of Millets 2023, working closely with the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and state millet missions to promote millets across the country. Beyond policy, Mr. Veeresh has mentored several millet startups, engaged with the industry in strengthening the partnerships at national and international level. His expertise spans agricultural economics, value chain development, business strategy, export marketing, and sustainable agriculture, making him a key contributor to India's growing millet movement. Please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Mr. Veeresh SW to share his insights on the future of food, know why millets matter more than ever. A very good morning, sir,
Thank you
and a
very much, Srishant.
warm welcome to the
Thank you very
podcast.
much. So, good morning, everyone. I'm glad, of course, I was quite, impressed after seeing the video that, the Vishwa team is doing. So it's a wonderful, initiative and also working for a great cause. So first of all, I would extend my, warm greetings and, congratulations to the entire team for having, taken up something that is, not everybody's choice. So definitely, you deserve a great appreciation on that end. So coming to the today's topic, so I would just go on with the presentation. Is that fine? Yes. So I think you also very briefly captured. So just for the benefit of the audience, I would also just like to introduce myself. So I am Dr. Veeresh. I am an agricultural economist by training. So I have been working in this space for the last couple of years. So the last job that I was working as a chief business manager at NutriHub. So a wonderful organization, and then who are doing excellent things, especially the millets. So they are literally the role model for the entire millet ecosystem in the country. And then stretching beyond, I now have been taking up assignments in 2, 3 different geographies across the world, wherein the partners from development sector are actually undertaking these projects, and I have joined their team. So as in my independent capacity, I have been contributing to all these teams. So shall I begin the presentation, Trisha? Okay.
Yes, sir, please. Thank
Is the screen visible now?
you. Yes,
Okay. So the future of food, why millets matter more than ever. So there are two dimensions to this. One thing is the future of food. So I'm sure everybody thinks of some technologies, disruptions when you talk of the future of food. But uh, the answer to this question is where silently the crops are being cultivated, or a particular group of crops are being cultivated in India and parts of the world. Maybe they have been oldest to the mankind, but today they are more relevant than ever. So that's the reason why millets matter more than ever, is what is one of the taglines that's been chosen for this. Okay. So millets are small seeded, cereals or grasses. They belong to that particular family. So they are the ancient grains, and they are very relevant to the contemporary and a strategic choice for tomorrow. Why? Because in the coming slides, you will be able to understand the need for reviving millets, or rather, the choice for millets to be a crop or mainstreaming them is the need of the hour today. Okay. So, if you could analyze the global food systems or Indian food systems per se, so the scenario is much, more or less same. So, the cereals that dominate the food system are rice, wheat, maize, okay, and of course millets. Historically, millets were part of this particular food system. If you see the statistics, so in the early 20th century or mid 20th century, the change started to happen, and then you started to see the rise of wheat. Okay, wherein rice and wheat were aggressively promoted through public funded programs or public policy, like procurement, so the technology, the green revolution that all of us talk about, and then the credit guarantees that came in place, minimum support price that came in place. All of these led to a huge push, a policy push for rice and wheat, so they were strongly in their favor. And on the contrary, we could see a drastic decline in the area of millets from 1960s to 2024. This picture only gives you on the area the trends, but perhaps the production and productivity levels, if you assess, I think millets are still better off. But the point I was trying to make here is these cereals were already integral part of our culture and traditions, but they have been declining over the years. So that calls for understanding the reasons what went to the decline or what can be done to revive them. Okay, so through the efforts we have succeeded in producing more calories, but the limitation for fewer crops is actually created by the advent of green revolution and subsequent technological changes. So that is when crops like millets have gone to the background. So with this understanding, I would like to tell you. So the world today faces multiple crises actually. So it's not just in one country or in one region. So climate change, then the global disruptions in terms of trade, and then the human challenges. Because see, there are people who are not having enough food to eat. On the contrary, there are also people who are eating enough but are still not able to have adequate nutrition. Okay, so there is where the problem of hunger, the obesity, the diet related diseases that we talk of, the lifestyle diseases that we talk of, actually come into picture. Similar is the case in terms of earth or the planet, wherein you are able to witness the change of climate or the impact of the climate change, and a water stress situation is created. So you're able to you're able to see the decline in the yields of major cereals or food crops, and there is also degradation of the soil because of excessive or indiscriminate use of fertilizers for agriculture. And coming to the trade, you are able to see, because a war-like situation happens, or a drought or a famine-like situation happens. So there would be a disruptions in supply, there would be a disruption in the trade. So that leads to an impact on the economy as well. So the crises here are on the people, on the planet, and on the economy. Uh, Now, to tackle all of this, we should be finding something that's going to have a commonality and address all of these, if not fully, but in a combination way. And we can also see a lot of studies that have told or that have been advocating that there is a need to switch for alternative cereals. Okay, so you are able to see it before you that a lot of uncertainties in weather and rainfall is happening, and we are witnessing ourselves the impact of it. And every alternate year you find a drought, every alternate year there is a cyclone or a flood. So a lot of agrarian distress is likely to happen, and which calls for diversification. And this diversification actually means you are able to create a contingent crop for the farmers, okay, a resilient food source, at the same time also balancing it. So that leads us to the question of what is that we have to be choosing. So what are those alternative cereals? Okay, of course the studies have uh, mentioned them, they are millets. So there could be other alternatives, but millets dominate the entire alternative cereal system. Okay, and I told you the problem of hunger, obesity. Likewise, we also face the problem of malnutrition. So in India it remains one of the most pressing, but yet it's under discussed, or rather it's uh, not much debated thing. So you find more than 35.5% of the children under 5 and the age of 5 are stunted, and about 19% of them are suffering from wasting, and about 32% of them are underweight, and more than two-thirds children are anemic. Okay, so why this happens is because largely the food consumption in India is driven by affordability and not nutrition. So we feel if you are giving him enough food to eat, that's done. But actually it's not the scenario. We should be giving them what they actually need. Okay, so largely the diets are dominated by rice and wheat, and of course that leads us to a situation where a deficiency is created. So definitely rice and wheat are adding the required nutrition that they have, but there is something that is still missing despite the consuming the fullest quantity or calories that you are able to do. So that tells us that there is a missing gap even in the nutrition and on our plates. So that further strengthens the argument that there is a need for alternative cereal, both for the planet and as well as for our plates. That tells us to a question. So till either two or maybe till date, the question was used to be like, how can we produce more food? Or maybe a century ago, if somebody would have asked what could be the goal, so producing enough food for people to eat was the biggest aim or goal that the governments or the organizations had. But today we are in a situation, we just don't need enough food, but rather we need something that is nutritious, something that is sustainable, something that is going to add value to the livelihoods, something that is going to be built without damaging the ecosystems. So the question today is, how can we produce the nutritious food without exhausting the water, without damaging the ecosystems, or weakening the farmer livelihoods? That precisely now lands us to a very few choices, or rather a limited number of choices as to what could be those crops that fulfill all of these questions. So when I say millets, so millets are not one single crop. Okay, so at least in India, we have about 9 types of millets cultivated. Uh, there is something called as pearl millet. We call them as bajra. There is something called as sorghum. There is something called as finger millet. There is a foxtail millet. There is a kodo millet, a little millet, proso millet, barnyard millet, and brown top millets. Okay, so the millets are definitely the crop here. The crops that constitute under millets are of these kinds in India. But if you go abroad, there are few more crops that are added to this list. It could be like teff, it could be like fonio, it could be job steers. So different geographies cultivate millets, and the pool of them are called as millets, or in the global context, sorghum and millets separately. Okay, but in India, all of these nine crops together are called as millets. When you say millets, so there are different crops that we very well understand now, and all of them are able to be grown in different climates and possess different nutritional strengths. So it's not necessary that all of them possess the same nutritional strength. Say, for example, pearl millet could be rich in iron and zinc, when maybe sorghum might have higher fiber. Your ragi could have higher calcium. Okay, foxtail millet, kodo millet could have higher proteins. So likewise, each of the millets have their own strengths, and that is why we are treating them in combination. And the bottom line here is they are not one crop but a group of crops. So our efforts have to be there on all of these crops. Now, what makes them different? The moment people say they are the alternative cereals, so what makes them different is a question. Okay, so the first point is, if people know of something called as a C3 and C4 pathways that happens in the photosynthesis, so millets belong, or millets rather, process or have their metabolism through the C4 pathway, which means the photosynthesis here happens through a pathway called C4. uh, this helps us to have a carbon concentration and probably makes them more resource efficient as opposed to the C3 crops. For example, rice and wheat, if you think, they are called as C3 pathways. So they undergo C3 pathway and they would be needing an additional, carbon dioxide, and then they would be needing uh, favorable climates and hydroclimatic conditions to grow. Whereas the C4 crops normally perform better even in harsh conditions. Okay, so because they have a very low photorespiration, whereas the C3 has higher photorespiration, so that makes difference in case of millets. And definitely they are short duration crops, unlike a few crops with having 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, or even in crops like sugarcane it is 1.5 years. So they are a very short duration crops, as low as 45 days. And then they are tolerant to drought and heat. So by far, whether in India or at the global level, if you observe, millets are largely cultivated in the marginal lands, and they are very much uh, tolerant and resistant to drought and heat. So it's an inbuilt mechanism. Okay, it's not something that was designed in laboratories, unlike what we are doing for other crops today. So they have evolved over a period of time to tolerate drought and heat. Okay, and they perform very well in rain-fed areas. So most of the millets in India today are cultivated in rain-fed areas. So maybe you might find a very little or traces of regions where some irrigation is given, but otherwise maximum, in fact 90 to 95% of the millets in India or around the world are cultivated in rain-fed areas. They require low or no inputs, so you don't have to artificially give a lot of fertilizers and then pesticides and plant protection chemicals kind of things to them. So there is a concept called as LEA and LISA, right? Low external input agriculture, low external input sustainable agriculture. So probably millets are those that fit into both of these windows. Okay, and definitely they provide a lot of nutrition. So now we are able to understand what makes millets different from other cereals. So the moment you think of alternative cereals, here millets are your first choice. Okay, so the physiology, the root systems, the duration, all of them are able to help them regulate the water stress and makes millets a well suited choice to warm and water deficit regions. Okay, so now understanding how they are different, why they are important, that we will be trying to understand. Maybe I would not call this a case study, but rather more like there are a lot many studies that have been conducted, but I would like to quote one such study here. So we think the water consumption or water utilization in agriculture might not make big difference. Okay, so there was one such study conducted in the parts of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and West Bengal. So where they have experimented switching from rice and wheat to pearl millet and sorghum. Okay, so they could actually see the reduced water consumption, and you could see the calorie production, the protein production. So it was an assessment that they did, and that tells us, okay, this is the possibility and an option before us. So we can always choose the crop that saves water than the technology alone. Okay, so uh, the water that we do not see, because water is going to be one of the biggest challenges to entire humanity per se, whether it is drinking water, whether it is water for agriculture, or it is water underground. Okay, maybe for somebody who understands, so there is a concept called as blue water, gray water, and green waters, right? So that is available through rainfall, that is available underground, and the one that is artificially given through irrigations. And they also are a lower burden in terms of climate. Why? Because so you don't have a flooded methane here. So when I say flooded methane, it's because some of the paddy fields that you see, the conventional method of growing rice has flooding. So that is, believed, or the studies have shown that it contributes to the methane emissions. So lower irrigation energy, because it hardly requires any irrigation. If at all it requires, maybe very, very critical stages. Otherwise, they are comfortably grown in rain fed. And then moderate nitrogen use. I was talking about the C4 pathway. So that particular pathway actually makes millets one of the most efficient users of nitrogen. Okay, and of course they are short duration, and because there are multiple millets or multiple crops within the group of millets, so you also have a scope for diversified or the rotations as well, so that the monocropping and the soil health problem is actually addressed here. So you're able to rotate the crop alongside managing the soil. Okay, of course the carbon performance varies, because when you say burden on the climate, it actually directly takes us to the carbon trades or carbon credits that the world is talking about today. So I would not definitely say that millets automatically qualify for carbon credits. Maybe some more efforts are needed to understand and unveil the facts that tell us, or that convince us, or that give us an evidence as to how this could be a better choice for carbon credits. But definitely carbon performance, or the climate impact is much, much lower in millets as compared to any other cereals in the food systems. I've when I say other cereals or other rice and wheat, when I frequently talk about those cereals, I don't mean I want to create an a situation where give a picture of rice and wheat versus millets. Okay, so definitely not. So this is not going to be a replacement, but it's going to be a rebalancing thing. So rice and wheat will still remain essential, but we would want to add millets. So the studies, I think we have National Institute of Nutrition, so that tells us, or they have advocated that at least one third of our cereal intake should come from millets, which means millets also form an integral part of our diets. If you see the My Plate concept by National Institute of Nutrition, probably you'll be able to understand this concept as to why millets are needed. It's not enough if you're only eating rice and wheat. Okay. On top of that, definitely millets are going to provide us diversity. They're going to provide us nutrition. They're going to provide us resilience and also the resource efficiency. So the objective that I'm trying to tell here is it's not just rice and wheat versus millets. It's going to be rice and wheat with millets. Okay, so that's where the concept of balancing and replacement I would like to clarify. And we have talked of water, we have talked of climate resilience, we have talked of C4 pathways. So there is also one other angle to millets, so that is nutrition. Okay, so millets offer the nutrition that is just beyond the calories. You don't have to eat millets only for the sake of energies or calories. Okay, so the food security, I think, if you look back maybe a decade or 2 decades ago, it was food security was once measured only through the availability of sufficient calories. You say in urban area, if the person eats about 2000 calories, in rural areas if the person eats about 2400 calories, or whatever the number is. Okay, maybe that data keeps changing, but the fact is the food security does not actually mean only the availability of sufficient calories. That's what we realize today. Okay, because there are certain problems in like hidden hunger, there are deficiencies, there is an obesity, there is a problem called anemia, and all of these are to be addressed. And then, so, which tells us that you need to diversify and you need to add some more nutrients to whatever you're already eating. Okay, so millets are definitely rich in antioxidants. So they are known to control the blood sugar levels, help lower your cholesterols. They offer, nutrition. Then they contribute to the antioxidant activities. Okay, so if you talk of each of the crop, as I mentioned, so sorghum is rich in phenolic compounds and it's the fiber that it has. Pearl millet has, iron and zinc. Then you have kodo millet, which has, very good protein. Then you have ragi, which has excellent calcium. So this in combination, which helps us improve our diversity in the cereals. And some of the micronutrients that we do not get from other crops are available in millets. It could also be amino acids, okay, the vitamins, all of these. So when used in combination, so definitely they're going to add a lot of value to your the nutrition that you're going to take, and also are going to have a significant positive effect on the health. Okay, especially in tackling the lifestyle diseases that we are all talking about today. Then when I say all of this, people might ask me if millets are so much, advantageous, or if they are more like a panacea to all the problems, why are they not everywhere? Okay, so definitely. So the first answer to that question is, so they are grown on marginal lands. So you hardly see any commercial level millet cultivation in the country, except for the states of maybe Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Karnataka, and parts of Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh. Why? Because these states are known to have been conventionally cultivating certain kinds of millets. Say, for example, Rajasthan has been traditionally cultivating pearl millet for ages. Okay, but all other parts of the country, you can probably not be able to see the area under pearl millet, or rather the preference of the pearl millet per se. Similarly, sorghum is widely cultivated in parts of Maharashtra and Karnataka. Okay, and ragi is, cultivated in parts of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So largely the farming community per se are dedicating the marginal, or rather the low fertile lands for millets. On the contrary, in the fertile patches, they're able to grow paddy, sugarcane, cotton, and things like that. So there are evidences, or there are studies that have proven if millets are offered a better endowed areas, so they can improve the productivity levels to 5 or 6 times of what they are in. Say today we are able to have a millet productivity of the millet crops in India. Combined productivity, if you say for all crops together, it's going to be 1.2 tons. So we have them seen to the level of 5 to 6 tons, okay, per hectare. So under rain-fed conditions is another reason, because if you understand the rain-fed areas, so they are exclusively depend on the rainfall for their growth. So there is no artificial irrigation that is provided, and maybe not much of groundwater or underground, water table is being, utilized for this particular reason, this particular areas. So millets are largely cultivated in those areas. So despite showing their efficiency, or despite, showing an excellent tolerance and resistance, we are not able to take them. Why? Because the area under which they are grown is very much limited. So the moment you want to see the fullest potential of them, so you have to actually introduce them to the newer areas, or maybe paddy fallows, or better endowed areas where you can see them in full potential. And of course, limited access to quality seed. This hasn't been a great concern now. Indian Institute of Millets Research and other organizations in the country are excessively working on this particular aspect where we are trying to provide the quality seed, okay, to the farmers in different states. So the research institutions, the agriculture universities are also contributing to this particular exercise of developing as well as providing access to the quality seeds. And of course, slow mechanization. So it's more, as I said, it's grown in marginal lands or low fertile lands. Not much of mechanization is being preferred, or rather, it is not being employed there. So but actually millets and especially the post harvest part of it requires some part of mechanization, some machinery and infrastructure support to process them, so that adds a lot of value once the crop is harvested. Okay. And another bigger concern is assured procurement. So we do have minimum support price for millets. So definitely, so that's an important thing that we can always say. But unfortunately, despite MSP being there, we do not have an assured procurement policy in place. So very few or handful of the states, or in fact within the states also, in selected geographies, maybe millets are being procured. When I say procured, the procurement like rice and wheat, you're going to introduce them into the public distribution system. So that creates a an inherent demand, and it creates a motivation for the farmer to grow. Okay. Of course, the weak processing and the market infrastructure, yes, it used to be one of the concerns earlier, but thanks to institutions like NutriHub and Indian Institute of Millets Research, so they have done a phenomenal job wherein they're trying to fix that gap of lack of processing technologies and lack of market infrastructure through a very successful and the proven models of their incubation, the research and development, and the common facility center. Because I know very well, in fact, even today, most of my friends and former colleagues are still doing that. And then that's an excellent choice. And if somebody is in Hyderabad, definitely I think it's a must visit for you to go and then have a look at the facilities that are being developed at that place. Okay, so we now understand that rice and wheat have benefited from the decades of breeding, irrigation, the procurement, the mechanization, and the public investment. But in case of millets, you do not have all of these in place. So the technology is in place, the policy is not being made favorable. Of course, all the situation that we talk of is before 2023. Of course, in the year 2023, so there was an international year of millets that was announced by United Nations General Assembly, and the whole year, the entire world ran excessive and aggressive campaigns promoting millets. So I think the more than ever word actually suits very much there. I think that was the first time you could see not less than 100 countries coming forward, and the best part of it was India was leading that effort. Just like the way we are leading the world in terms of yoga, millets was something that India took the leadership in, and India is the global hub of millets. And that is why a lot of momentum was created, and it is still on. Maybe 2023 is over, but lot of improvements and lot of favorable changes have been in place in case of millets, and which is why we are talking about them today. Otherwise, I'm sure Vishwa Talks also would not have chosen something like millets as their topic, because they talk of society and they talk of sustainability and all. So definitely, yeah, that tells us the importance as to why this has become the need of the hour today. Okay, so the bottom line here is the yield gap, or the gap that you see in millets, if they are not found everywhere or if they are found on limited lands, it's not because it's not just an agronomic or a field gap. So it is actually the awareness, the technology, the policy, and the investment that is actually supposed to come up. So the process has begun for all of this. So a lot of awareness is being built, newer technologies are developed, a policy is made in place, and industry is also making a lot of investment into this. Today, that is why you see all the FMCG giants talking about millets. So they have at least one product in their portfolio, the food businesses I'm talking about. So at least one product in their portfolio they have which has millets in it. They would like to brand and position millets by embracing the campaigns and the promotion efforts that the government of India is doing. Is it enough if you're able to cultivate millets? So when I say they are the best choice or the next alternative choice that you have, is it enough if you're able to produce? So production of millets without a markets is definitely not the strategy that we should be, employing. Because if you try to increase the production without creating demand, so that actually has a lower impact or that could significantly reduce the prices. So creating consumer demand without building supply can also raise the prices and probably so the situation that I'm talking about is twinfold. One is the demand driven, one is the supply driven. If you aggressively promote them without taking efforts to create a supply chain, so you're going to see a high rise in the prices. So then the affordability becomes a challenge. On the contrary, if you only promote them on the supply front without creating a demand, so you're going to have a huge production but no prices. So the market is going to be a failure in both the cases. So the efforts that we should be putting in is on the one side you create the demand for the commodity and on the other side you create a resilient supply chain. Okay, which means the production and the demand must grow together through a coordinated value chain. Okay, so I think Indian Institute of Millets Research has created or rather has pioneered. Okay, so I have had the privilege of working there, and in fact, the uh, the key person who was contributed to this, Dr. Dayakar Rao. So I had an opportunity to work with him for more than 4 to 5 years, wherein I had an opportunity to look into each of these actors in the value chain. Okay, so right from your input suppliers to the consumers, you're going to have variety of actors in place and different facilitators are also there. Say for example, I talk about NutriHub. Okay, so NutriHub is an incubation center where you actually have the confluence of all of this. It's actually an incubation center indeed. Maybe there could be at least hundreds of incubation centers that you see across, but having a dedicated place for research and development, having a dedicated place for building market linkages, and also offering a support or the shared infrastructure to the startups. So that's something that you don't find everywhere. So this is a model that one should adopt or one should be able to take it or replicate. So of course we have government agencies like APIDA, State Millet Missions, Food Corporation of India, and Indian Institute of Millets Research, the Global Center of Excellence on Millets. So all of these form the facilitation part of the value chain, but all the actors in the value chain have their own role to play. And only when through an integrated value chain effort, you will be able to have the balance of both production as well as the demand. Now, when I talk of markets, when I say create demand, create markets, I do not want, or rather, a situation shouldn't arise wherein you're making millets into an elite food. Okay, so that's not what we want, because the moment you make it elite food, the same story repeats. So the people will not be able to afford, and then our biggest concern that we are trying to address, that is the nutrition, the nutrition micronutrient deficiencies, the health benefits that we want to transfer to the individuals will not be achieved. So the objective is to create access, so it make it affordable. So introduce them in the school meals, in the midday meal programs, ICDS, the public nutrition programs, and then provide common facility centers, involve self-help groups. So an access has to be created for everybody. At the same time, a value also needs to be created. When I say value, it is for the business. Why? Because as as I mentioned earlier, India is a global hub of millets. So which tells us that we have something that the world wants. So that tells or that calls for the need of transferring the technologies or transferring the commodities or trading the commodities outside India. Now, for that to happen, you need to have a strong positioning. Okay, so in such cases, definitely there is a value that is created. So it's a premium commodity. So you're going to make functional foods out of it. You're making specialty products out of it. So the convenience, the ready to eat, ready to cook, and instant foods are being made. So we need to have we need to focus on both an accessible proposition as well as a value proposition. So that doesn't make millet only an elite food. Okay, so it is available to the common man through all of the efforts for mainstreaming in schools, in ICDS programs. At the same time, also have a huge market potential by positioning it as a premium commodity. So we talked of production, we talked of markets and creating the demand. So slowly we have been able to now understand what was the need for millets and how they are different and what is that we need to do to take them to the next level in terms of technology, in terms of awareness. That tells us or that leads us to the question, what are those opportunities? So definitely the opportunities are larger than the grains. So it's what I'm trying to tell is you have ample of business opportunities that have come up, especially in the last decade. Okay, again, thanks to the efforts of NutriHub and an excellent team there, wherein they are trying to create opportunities, throw light upon various dimensions that have either to not been looked upon. Say for example, you're able to create products for health and nutrition. You're able to drive it through exports. You're able to empower SHGs and FPOs. Okay, you're able to design and retrofit machineries. Then you are focusing on novel or you know disruptive technologies like uh, cre- creating some fortifications and then enhancing the shelf lives and things like that. Then you're also foraying into the concept of byproduct utilization, okay, wherein some biodegradable plates, cups kind of a thing can be made, or an animal feed. Um, some of it can go as an animal feed, okay. Some of it can go for composting. So, which means the entire plant can be used. So, if you look into the opportunity that you would like to uh, make a business proposition out of this, so the opportunities are as wide and as huge that you can think of. So there are also people who are crafting beverages. So millet based beverages are known around the world. Of course, in some African countries, that's been traditionally consumed both as an alcoholic beverage and a non-alcoholic beverage. In India too, in parts of Meghalaya, Sikkim, Manipur, where you have millet-based beverages that are culturally and traditionally consumed by the people living there. But in the recent past, a lot of technological advancement is happening, and some of the startups or entrepreneurs are in place and who are, foraying into developing millet-based beverages, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, in other parts of the country as well. Now, having said all about millets, why they are important, and why they are important not just for India but for the world. Okay, so there is enough, or there is excellent effort that India has done put in the last decade, and what is that we have to the world? So, what is that India has taught to the world? If you would like to understand, first thing is public recognition creates an attention, which means awareness is important. First, you need to make people aware about the millets, okay, and the health benefits that they give and the advantages that they have. and why they are important in the first place. So if you are able to do that, an attention is created, and then naturally people would tend to prefer. Okay, so this is an evolving mechanism. It doesn't happen just over day or overnight. Procurement influences farmers' decisions. So I was mentioning about something called as minimum support price in the previous slides. So, and I rather categorically mentioned the procurement is not in place. While I say so, some of the states in the country are doing procurement in certain regions. Say for example, in Karnataka, in southern parts of the state, ragi is being procured, while in the northern part of the state, sorghum is being procured. In state like Odisha, you have ragi being procured. Okay, maybe in state like Maharashtra, you also have a little bit of sorghum being procured. In case of Chhattisgarh, you have the small millets being procured. In case of Uttarakhand, likewise, it's a ragi. So the states that have an advantage over a certain millet are trying to put the best efforts to initiate them in the procurement process, so that that creates a motivation for the farmers to grow. So that's an excellent model that we can always advocate. And then we have institutional programs that can create initial demand. When I say institutional programs, it could be your midday meals, or it could be introducing millet products in the schools, army canteens, colleges, universities. Okay, so they are small, but they are captive. Okay, maybe I think one such example we had in the state of Telangana uh, few years ago, wherein an effort was made to introduce millets in the TGRTC buses, the RTC buses that commute or move from Hyderabad to different parts of the state, were given a millet product kit. So it was an effort by the RTC to promote millets. So that slowly creates demand. So we have a few of our startups who are actually doing it. So somebody introduces them in hospitals. Okay, so that creates a demand. So that's a captive. Then introducing them into food canteens of government offices. Okay, so these are small, but though they are institutional, but they are able to create the demand. So that once you get used to that, or once you get to know about such a commodity, definitely you will want to buy them more, and naturally a demand in the market is created. Processing technology determines the consumer acceptance. So what kind of technology that you employ? Okay, so these days you're able to see a huge awareness among the consumer fraternity as well. Okay, so the reading labels, understanding the nutrition, and then looking at the ingredients, looking at the additives that are being added, all of these form an integral component of today's consumer, or his interest or her interest. So which is why they'll also look what technology is employed, and we should be able to provide such a product to them which is processed but without the loss of nutrition, and which is able to add value to the nutrition that they're looking for. Millets, when they choose millets, what is that they are looking for, they must be able to get that. Unlike indiscriminate polishing them, making them look very polished and then clean, and then giving them, but doing away with the, or defeating the entire purpose of providing nutrition. So consumer acceptance also parallelly goes with the technology that you employ. Next, and the most important part is incubation. So incubation is something, is it's more like a bridge that connects your research, that connects your business. Both are happening parallelly. Now through incubation, you are trying to bring them on a common table. Okay, so that the person who wants to refine, who wants to develop, or who wants to improve upon his product can do it. At the same time, the person who has a business but does not have a commodity also can get access to such a commodity. So it's a platform that brings all the expertise together, and then you are able to show, so with one integrated support, how the commodity can perform better. Regional targeting is better than universal substitution. So that's the reason I said every state has an important millet that they're growing, and not entire country is promoting millets. So because they are different millets, each state focuses on the region it has an advantage. Maybe Rajasthan promotes bajra, Maharashtra and Karnataka promote sorghum, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka may promote ragi and small millets. Chhattisgarh may promote kodo and kutki. Uttarakhand may promote your barnyard and ragi. Odisha might promote little millet and ragi. So each of the states have their advantage, and targeting them regionally would add lot of benefit in the outcome at the end. So the lesson for other countries is it's not just to copy India mechanically. The model must be adapted to the local crops, the food cultures, the institutions, the farming systems, and the consumer preferences. So this is what exactly the I would rather call this a revolution that has been uh, created in India, and then now it's spreading its wings across the global south, especially wherein the millets are now being mainstreamed in different geographies around the world. Now, answering to the most important question, now I think by now we have understood how they could be the future of food. And the second part of it, why the millets matter more than ever now, is because you see their diversity. Okay, we have seen studies showing us that there is a gap within the nutrition, within the food that we consume, the diets that we consume. Okay, so the nutrition, the diversity, and then the climate resilience. So we have also seen how the climate change is it going to impact the yields of other cereals. So when it's going to reduce the yields, there must be something else to supplement or complement that particular gap. And who does that? Millets are one of the best choices that have been considered as an alternative cereal there. Less water dependent. This is equally important because today, when you say, for example, you're going to export rice to a country, that means you're not just exporting the grains there, you're also exporting your water. It's more like a virtual water trade that you're able to create. So you're transferring the resources, I mean, water resources through that commodity. So you understand there is a huge water shortage that is, in place in most of the countries and most of the states within India as well. So in such a scenario, those crops that can grow with minimal water or which can grow with the rainfalls or the rainfed situations could be the best choice. Economically viable farmers, it's because they hardly require any inputs. So the cost of cultivation is going to be as minimal as possible. He doesn't have to spend thousands of rupees for cultivating millets. Okay, so because he's not going to add enormous fertilizers, he's not going to add a lot of plant protection chemicals or pesticides to that. He's not going to do too much of interculture operations. So this is more like a natural way or natural farming that the farmer does. So which is why he's going to have an economical advantage for cultivating millets. And of course, accessible to consumers is one important thing. Why? Because as much as the farmer grows, the consumers are not getting, so that is not just lost to the farmers, it is also lost to the consumers, because you have ability to pay or you have the need to consume millets, but you're not able to get them. So that creates a gap for consumer end as well. So farmers making them available to the consumers is one part, and consumers are able to buy them in an affordable and an accessible manner is another important thing. Okay, so the bottom line that I would like to stress upon here is millets are not the only future of food, but there can be no resilient future of food without millets. I think that makes the argument pretty much clear. So takes away all the competition part, takes away all the, you know, the versus model here. So you are not going to build a resilient future in the food systems without millets. Okay. So the future of food will not be secured merely by producing the more grains. It will be secured by producing the right crops in the right places with the right technologies for the right markets while delivering nutrition, conserving resources, and creating value for the farmers. Millets are ancient grains, but the decision to bring them back to the center of food policy is thoroughly a modern choice. So, with this, I'm at the end of uh, my presentation. So, thank you all for your patient hearing, and now open to any questions.
Thank you so much, sir, for the uh, for such a well prepared presentation, and thank you so much for your time and your insights. Before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to just take 30 seconds of everyone's time for a quick poll. This will help us get to know you better and tailor future topics that we bring to you. A big thanks to everyone here today. Your presence and participation means a lot to us. While you fill out the poll, I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed speaker, Mr. Veeresh for sharing his valuable time and insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Uh, Thanks. Okay, I request all of the participants to quickly interact with the poll. Meanwhile, for anybody who's missed a part of this session or would like to uh, save the link of this particular session and share it with others, I'm going to share the link of the YouTube link of this particular talk in the chat box shortly. Okay, last 10 seconds for the poll questions to be answered. I'm going to close the poll questions and move on to the Q&A. Okay, closing the poll now. I'm going to unmute the first participant, Mr. Vasant Kumar Naiswalmat. Kindly unmute yourself, please. Uh, I've prompted you to unmute, sir. Just
I think he's facing an issue. He's unable to. Ah, no
It's
worries.
okay now. Okay. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Veeresh
Yes, sir.
ji,
Very much. Yes, sir.
very nice. Very
Thank you,
useful
sir.
information you have given, no doubt about it. Now, can I ask you one or two questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure,
Can you
sure.
hear me, please?
Yes, sir. We can hear
Can you
you.
hear? Okay.
there's
It was a
a
very
little
good,
bit of
very good
interference,
presentation,
but
sir. Due to present failure of monsoon, right time now is now to make millets as next best food for mass consumption. But one thing is,
Yes.
not all millets suit everybody. That is
Yes.
one thing which I have observed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is it possible to identify only such things and make them popular in those areas? That's
Sir,
GI
yes, I
is
think that was.
one. May GI
Yes,
is
please.
very important here. That way,
Yes.
Second thing is it possible? Or would you like to answer me with this? I have got two more questions.
Okay. So you can ask the other two questions as well, sir. Maybe after that I'll answer them.
Right, sir. And why chia teff cannot be introduced in India? Because I made a bold move, and Mysore being the motherland of FCB tobacco, I was, as an anti-tobacco man, I introduced chia, and many farmers made a lot of money out of it. If you just go to malls and ask for 200, 100 or 200 grams of chia, you will be shocked to see the rate. Though they are very, very good for fatty acids and omega 3, and all those facts are there, no doubt about it. But they are very costly. Why can't government introduce that also? Because present day millets, as throughout the world, chia is getting marketed as a very good food product. That's a second. Then can millets be alternative crop for tobacco, which is a FSSAI certified nicotine is poisonous? I hope you will be able to tell me and give me a little here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think
Thank you.
first part, I think I'm quite clear. I'll be able to fully answer that. But the second two questions, yes, of course. The third one, maybe I'm really not an expert to throw light upon comparing the conditions that the tobacco is cultivated and how far the switching of these or swapping of these crops can happen. But the first question, as you said, yes, not every millet is suitable to everybody. So that's quite clear and it is understood. In fact, during my presentation also, I made it a point to mention this in a way that you need to focus on what is known to you or what is local to you. So the regional targeting, say, if since you are from Mysore, I'm sure you might be very well acquainted with ragi. Okay,
Yes, yes,
but
yes.
given a choice for you to eat jowar roti, you may not prefer it as much as you prefer your ragi mudde, isn't
Correct.
it?
Correct.
Likewise, I am from the northern part of the state. I might prefer a jowar roti as opposed to ragi mudde. Okay,
Even
so
I prefer that.
definitely the choice is based on the localized conditions that the individual is living in. So definitely, as you said, it makes a perfect sense. Advocating one single millet to the entire country will not be the answer. Rather, they can focus on the localized
Locally.
choices. Coming to your second question, why can't teff and maybe chia be introduced? So definitely, there is nothing wrong in introducing, and I'm sure there are already people. I know for a fact couple of people who are already trying to experiment with teff. Okay, because it is grown in as an exotic millet in African countries. There are some enthusiasts who have tried to bring the seeds or grains and then try to experiment the potential for value addition, also the potential for cultivation, and to understand the nutritional dynamics of it. So this is the first two question. Third question, I think probably I would myself need to do a little bit of research. So thank you for showing, throwing a light on that. Maybe I'll be able to answer that question to you later. So
It is a certified poison, tobacco.
yes,
And we need food more than tobacco nowadays. And the government is
yes,
also playing double game on that. Another thing is Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Guntur area, FCB tobacco, and Gujarat. 85%
Gujarat.
of BD tobacco is being grown there. Is it fair on the part of the government to supply and also say don't use? this is something which you people will have to take it further. Time for us to act
Yes,
is now.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, yes, yes,
Thank you,
yes,
Trisha.
yes. Thank,
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to now unmute M- Mr. Schmidt. Kindly unmute you, sir.
You hear me now?
Oh, yes, sir. We
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting presentation, very important topic, very important subject. And I want to ask, can support resolution problems of food insecurity and poverty.
Sir, your voice is
Prashant?
getting cut a lot. Is your question how millets can support food security and poverty?
And the resolution problems of poverty.
Resolving problems of poverty. Um, yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, sir is asking how, according to you, millets can help in resolving problems of poverty and also, may I know the second part again, please? The first part again, please.
Yeah, yeah.
Food security. The first part
This
was
my
food
question.
security.
Yeah, this my question.
Yes, yes, yes. So the first part of the question, how millets can support the food security is, no, as I have mentioned. So they are, more like a powerhouse of nutrition that you can actually find. So if you compare the nutrition levels or the different aspects of nutrition, whether it is vitamins, minerals, then carbohydrates, protein, fat, and all of this, so definitely they way far more better. So not just food security, they are also able to address the nutrition. So food security as well as nutrition. When I say food security, people should not just confuse it with the quantum of the grains that they're able to visualize. So India cultivates about, let's say, 13 or less than 15 million tons of less than 15 million hectares of millets, all the millets put together, and we're able to produce, let's say, less than 18 or less than 20, very broad figure of million tons of millets, whereas we have rice and wheat produced as high as 250, 300, 350 million tons. So it might just form just one tenth of the entire food basket. Okay, but definitely whatever the food security is being provided to those grains, it is enhanced or rather enriched by the value that the millets are going to add. So food security and nutrition, yes, can be provided by millets. Coming to the second question, how can the poverty be tackled, or is there a way that millets can form the part of solution to tackle the poverty? Yes, it is. Millets are a commodity wherein you can create a livelihood. Okay, a business opportunity for the people to rely upon, so that translates to a source of income for them. So there are people who are growing, who are processing, who are trading, who are also into the millet businesses. So maybe a little bit of skill development or a training and capacity building would be needed for them. And uh, institutions like NutriHub are actually doing that job of providing the last mile connectivity. So they're going to build your capacities, and you will have an opportunity to overcome, if not the entire solution to the poverty, but definitely a way where you can empower the communities.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. I'd like to now unmute Dr. Varsha Khan. Could you please unmute the screen?
Am I audible? Because I
Yes.
was trying. Okay. So it
Yes,
was
yes,
a
very
very
much.
good presentation, Dr. Veeresh Walli.
Thank
And
you very much.
thank you so much, Trishant, for for giving us an opportunity to directly listen to such a person. We actually never met such informed person. So basically, sir, I just want to just tell you briefly that I started an intervention in 2023 in the International Millet Year with tribal areas in southern Rajasthan, and I work for micro millets, sir. So a lot of women, tribal women, have turned their foothills and marginal lands into millet fields. And
Millets.
so after the capacity building and all, so we tried very much to include in the social safety net program. So in a tribal area, development departments program in daycare centers and Mahabari centers. Now we are providing millet recipes, millet khichdi, millet laddu, I mean ragi laddu especially, and this China, proso millets, dalia, and all those sattu to the tribal these institution at 25 centers, and we have conversed at the ground level, village level, with other departments like ICDS, and also things are started very well. Just one thing, if we have to scale up, it took 3 years for starting this small level of intervention. Started with 5 blocks, selected panchayats. But if we have to scale up, definitely will need one expert body to guide us, and for everything, right from capacity building to the availability of seeds to the right from farmers hand holding to everybody, because that a kind of authority, as I heard you, and I got to understand so many things absolutely with clarity. So that kind of clarity is not there in any of the agriculture, I mean, I'm very sorry to say, with agricultural universities or KBKs, it's not there. So and we have a limitation. I'm a health management professor, so we're not authority in that, just trying to build a micro level case study or evidence based intervention. So now, Trishant, since you have brought us here, now do something to connect with the technical hub, so that no so kind of, if those who are implementing practically, how to implement, how to scale up, and which is the body, like NutriHub will just provide technical knowledge which is possible through any I don't know where to go. And because I contacted Mr. Dayakar Rao, you have already worked with him. Now Tara ma'am is there at Indian Institute of Millet Research in Hyderabad. So Tara ma'am also knows me. I've met her many times. But then that kind of expertise and hand holding support is not there. So if you if anybody comes up for that, much more changes can be made, sir.
So I think thank you, Dr. Varsha. I partially agree with you the fact that some technical support is needed for any intervention of this kind to to scale up. So I don't know if you have tried. Definitely, it's good that you already know Dr. Tara ma'am, and I would also request you. Maybe I can later on connect, so we'll request you to contact Dr. J. Stanley, the CEO of NutriHub. Okay, he's an excellent man where I'm sure Sir would be able to figure out a way where this particular intervention being scaled up and how the collaboration can actually work.
Sir,
Okay.
so his
And from my
contact
end,
numbers
if
and
you are
all.
able to, yes, yes, from my end, if you need any kind of, inputs or support to your exercise, I'm open to that support, and maybe Vishwa team can connect me. and I'll be able to facilitate that particular connect to NutriHub as well. And I try to see it or make it happen. I'm sure you must have had some, past experiences, but I would probably consider this as a challenge, and that I'll try to make this happen.
Please do that, because as you said, that poverty and those things. So these tribal women, I mean, I have already I'm working with more than 1,000 tribal women, sir. And they're one
Great,
of the
great, great.
lady, sir, one more thing which is like very interesting, sir, which I'll like to tell inform you that in like, because I started my intervention in Udaipur is a tourist place, and all
Yes,
those tribals living in the remote tribal areas, forested areas, and actually those you can, like, it's still what we mean is tribal land is tribal land. So very remotely located. And sir, they have a great respect for Lake Palace. So I invited the Lake Palace chef to teach them recipes and all. So they are like, they took it very nicely. And one lady, very elite, like, illiterate and old lady, she just made them taste ragi papad made of
okay,
like, locally made. And the chefs liked so much that that lady is now supplying her ragi papad to Taj Group. So that's like,
wonderful.
these small
It's a
small
success story in itself. Yes, yes.
yes. So these things actually give me power and more interest in creating, like, much more. Why only one old lady? So, but then it is actually have a lot of such stories in that intervention area. And I would definitely, because of this one intervention, after we did a baseline assessment, and after 6 months, we'll again weigh measure the hemoglobin, the
Impact.
anthropometric measures, nutritional parameters and all. And I really wish that these evidence based research should like, come to people, those who are working with millets, and those who are like, so sir, I will need your support, sir. And
Yes,
Trisha,
and one quick suggestion, Dr. Varsha.
yeah.
I'm glad that you made a mention of the, the studies that you're actually taking up. So I think I'm sure you must be thinking of it. If not, please give it a thought. This be documented and published, so that this adds a lot of value to the researchers who are looking for a similar support that you are actually looking. So
Sir.
the problem that you have faced, probably others shouldn't face. So let us try together and then create some documentation that supports all of these evidences.
So definitely, and I'll need your support, sir. Please, I mean,
Definitely.
so
That,
make me your shisha, and I would definitely,
no,
I
that's too
would
big. That's
love
too
to
big a
work.
thing. That's too big a thing.
So
Ma'am,
thank you so much.
Pratyusha from Vishwa team will connect you to Sir's commercial contact, and she will also send you the session recording link and the contact details in the same registered email address that you registered from. Uh,
Thank you so much, Trushan. God bless you.
you're
God bless you all. I mean, for this presentation and this session, because actually it was needed. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for
Cheers.
joining. Before I move on to the next question, I'd like to thank the Vishwa team for doing this very consistently. I work remotely from Gujarat, and the rest of my team is in Hyderabad, and we've been doing sessions for about 4 years now, consistently every weekend, every Saturday. And thank you, Pratyusha, for helping set up a session with Sir. It's a really nice session going on. I'm
Thank you.
going to
Thank you.
unmute the next speaker. I'm going to unmute the next participant. I request the guest to kindly unmute yourself. I've prompted you to unmute.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning, sir. I'm Sanjana, sir. I've completed my master's in food and nutrition.
Okay.
So I like to conduct a research, like PhD research on millet brands, sir, because many people have done research on millet flours and all, and made many
Mm.
value-added products, but there is a lack of research on millet brand. So I decided to do on foxtail millet brand into a
Okay.
product like a cookie.
Okay.
So half of the amount will be foxtail millet flour, and the remaining proportion in different composition, like 10% millet brand and 20% and 30%, to identify the efficacy of their shelf life. Because the main problem why they are not using millet brand is because of their shelf life, sir. So, like rancidity.
Yes.
So I like to do it on that aspect, sir. So how can we approach, sir? In which organization can we do the this brand topics and also, because if I do it in college, they don't have that lab facilities regarding the processing and all. So how can we go about that, sir?
So, where are you based out of, Sanjana?
Chennai, sir.
Chennai. Okay, okay. So there are two things. Maybe if you are comfortable to come down or reach out to the team at Hyderabad, maybe I think NutriHub could be one place where you could get answers to most of your questions, or at least a suggestion as to how you can go forward. Okay. Or
Okay, sir.
there could also be other experts, or I think in Tamil Nadu we have MDRF, so Madras Diabetic Research Foundation. I think they are also
Okay,
doing
sir.
good amount of work on millets. Maybe you could reach out to somebody there. I know one of faculty there, Dr. Shobna Madam. Maybe I think I can share the coordinates with the Vishwa team. Post this session, you could actually reach out to her if need be. So you have both the options. Since you are a student, I suggested you which is more convenient. Otherwise, I think
Okay,
you
sir.
can, for a holistic need, you may visit NutriHub or try reaching out to the teams. They'll be able
Okay,
to
sir.
guide you, and then from there you can take it forward with wherever you are. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Recently, MSSRF also announced the fellowship,
Yes, yes,
sir.
they are doing excellent, excellent. Yes, sorry, I missed it, but yes, MSSRF also is doing quite a good job in the millets, and of course they are also having a bigger mandate focusing on region agriculture, I mean regenerative agriculture, and then underutilized crops and things like that. But yes, they are also doing. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have another vision also, sir. In
Mm.
many of our areas, we all have like junk food and other hotels and all, but there is very low like restaurant regarding millets, no, sir. So how can we start like that, no, sir? But many of us are ignoring that and not starting because people may not like. They are more interested in consumption of junk foods and processed items, no, sir. Because of not accessible of that millet related foods, we are not consuming, no, sir.
No, Sanjana, I think maybe I would like to little bit, throw light upon what you actually understand, or maybe what your knowledge is on this. So there have been, establishments, and I think we are in an age and day where we are having exclusive millet-based restaurants. I have
Yes,
seen
sir.
them in
But it's too
Bangalore. I have
costly,
seen them.
sir. If we like to consume like common millet idli,
Mhm.
there is no accessible, no, sir. The cost is also too high. So no common people can
See,
get access to that.
what happens is when the moment you talk of pricing and things like that, so restaurants always do that, but nobody stops you from trying and doing it at your level. But if you have that vision of trying to provide most affordable meals, I'm sure you can give it a try, or try doing your startup journey, because you are a technologist or a nutritionist yourself. I think you should not have trouble in developing, or rather products or the technologies per se. So I think you can give it a try. Yes, but to the answer your the first part of the question, there are restaurants. Maybe the pricing is subjective thing. What is pricey in Bangalore may not be very pricey in Hyderabad, or what is pricey in Hyderabad may not be very pricey in Chennai. So I think that I leave it outside. But other part of it is, yes, you can actually do. It's a very great idea that you have.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. If I have any doubts, I'll reach out to you, sir.
Sure, 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 sure. Thank you.
So I'd like to because I think ma'am mentioned she's from Tamil Nadu. There's some, if you want to know about like organic farming of millets, I would suggest you to take a trip to Oroville, which is near Pondicherry. And there's a couple of farms. One is called Annapurna Farm, other is called Solitude Farm. There's another one called Kotakarai Organic Food Processing Unit. And they have spindle millet, foxtail millet, kodo millet, and onion millet. These are the four varieties they have. And when I was talking about food products that are made from millet exclusively in restaurants, I have come across some chains in Gujarat, which are from the south. There's a cafeteria called Bengaluru Cafe, which is serving about 8 to 9 different types of millet-based dosas, idlis, and stuff like that. And it's very tasty. An industrialist started it, and it's very reasonable also for the like surprisingly reasonable in Gujarat, because in Gujarat even rice dosa is like 200, 250 rupees starters. So uh, yeah, it's I think new ventures are coming up. People are slowly moving towards the millet uh, food units. Yes, moving on to the next question. Uh, I'd like to now unmute Jigna Kara. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yes. Hello, sir. Thank you
Hi,
so
hi, hi.
much. Yeah, thank you so much for such useful information in very simple words. And
Thank you,
sir,
ma'am.
actually, I'm using millet already. So I'm facing one problem. So if you have the solution for that, uh, I'm from Mumbai. Here, climate is moisture climate, and millets are organic. So within 10 to 15 days, here some insect generates in millet. So how we can
Okay.
store it?
So you're talking about the grain, madam?
Yes,
Okay. So I think the storage at the household level, yes, because it varies. Uh, However, we have been working or at the field level, but maybe I'll try to connect and reach out to an expert. But again, as I said, you can reach out to the institution. So we have. There are entomologists, and that particular problem you'll definitely be able to address. What I can do is, since you are far away, I'll try to maybe will take your connect from the Vishwa team and then try to address from whatever my, because giving a solution shouldn't be a trouble, but at the household level I
yes.
would not want to blanketly say something to you unless and until it is obtained from an expert. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
and
So,
can.
actually,
do you
sir,
think
I have the so, we are into grains and pulses business. So we have
Mhm.
introduced millet at our shop also for selling purpose.
Okay.
At least
Hmm.
someone wants, they don't get it here easily. So we are making
Okay.
available. So
I
for
think in
that
that
purpose
case,
also,
I
I
have
need
seen
help.
a couple of startups who are employing this vacuum packaging, where they're able to
airtight sales?
retain the grains for a longer period of time. But from a
Okay.
business point of view, yes, that actually holds good. But if I thought you were also asking it from your household consumption point of view, which is why
Both.
I
Actually,
probably didn't have.
I'm asking for both actually.
Yes, yes. I think from a business standpoint, yes, vacuum packaging could be one choice that you can always look for. Probably it helps you store them for a quite longer time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
I think, do you think like taping a silica gel, food safe silica gel packet in the top of the lid could help reduce the moisture
I have
in a
seen
small
some of
container?
the startups, some of the startups also have this kind of maybe like an active packaging or something like that. But again, it is the area that is has to be researched, because the
Right.
moment a suggestion is given, generally what happens if something goes here and there, so the entire
It
blame
could
goes
have
on
ripple.
millets.
And
Right.
what happened, vacuum packaging we do, but when we open up the packet at like household level, so if we
Mm.
open up the packet, so after that, within 10 days, insect generates.
Understood, madam. I think, as I said, no, maybe the our my ex boss, Dr. Stanley, he's an entomologist himself. I think you should be the right person who will be able to, uh,
Okay.
answer that particular question.
Thank you,
I'll
sir.
probably, as I said, I'll be sharing the contact details of the NutriHub team, maybe 1 2 people where you can reach out to them and then see, because again, as an organization, so there is a procedure in place and then policy established. So uh, as per the channel, you will be able to reach out to them and then try to get a
Okay.
solution to your question. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, China. I was just reading about it online. Some people have used the cold storage technique that so whenever they buy it,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
store it in the refrigerator for a
No,
few
that's
days.
most of us do.
So
No,
the
we
eggs die
generally keep
basically.
everything in fridge.
Mm.
Yes. We do it
So
for
the
most of
eggs
the
die,
grains, regardless of what they are.
right?
But again, because she's very precisely asking, so I thought it's better. An expert opinion is
Right.
always.
So I'd like to now unmute the next guest. I've prompted you to unmute yourself. Kindly unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Thanks for Dr. Veeresh and thanks for Vishwa. I have started millet premixes like a khichdi soup from brand name is Millet Raw from Pune.
Okay. Okay.
Can government mm, adding to there the midday meal or can support IMR Indian Institute of Millet Research NutriHub for the branding or marketing?
Sir, to my, the best of the knowledge, the institutions, whether it is Indians of Millets Research or NutriHub or any other government agency that you take off, apart from marketing, departments, so these agencies or these departments are, not mandated to do the branding and marketing per se. Okay, we work on the technology part, we work
Okay,
on strengthening the capacities. So but
okay,
you could find, linkages, you could find connects or marketing leads by signing
okay.
up for their incubation programs and training and capacity building programs.
I have also completed NutriHub training in past
Good.
years. Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, okay.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to unmute the next guest. Sir, kindly unmute yourself. I prompted you to unmute. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. You're unmuted. Could you please speak and ask your question?
Hi, sir.
Hi,
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Arun. I am from Orissa, and it's a very good presentation, sir.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you very much.
actually, you can say accidentally I joined this. Yesterday, I just browsed the Facebook and I got that, and I joined. So the thing is, most of the important things I've got through your this seminar webinar. But I am actually consuming millets since few days, like not in
Okay.
regular basis, because rice and rotis are our main uh,
Mm-hmm.
ingredient meals. Okay, so meals part. So Orissa particularly they have rice. So I am frankly speaking, sir, I am into like some health issues. Okay,
Okay.
so as you must know, Mr. Khadir Walli, right? So he's a millet
Yes,
man,
yes.
right?
Mm.
So I followed and I also means tried the process what he explained, because he also explained that now the nutrients is no more contains like in rice or wheat, that is called mota anaj. Okay, So they have in Mysore based, I think, their clinics in Mysore.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I followed. The way the process they are making that millets, what you called ambli and millets. Ambli is bit longer process. It need like you have to be in home as a working person. You can't do it. Okay, somebody have to do it for you because it is fermented things, and other things are easy like khichdi and all these things. So having said that, sir, I am a gastric person, like severe acidity and gastric person. I am trying all my level best to get out from this. Like, okay. So after some times, like I have consumed, I notice like my weight has become, maintained, but it's not in last 4 5 months, it is gradually reduced. So I suggest like somebody suggests me to try millets based foods and avoid spicy and this thing I'm doing. But do you think the millets, if I will consume, it will reduce your weight and impact your? Definitely, there is no negative impact. I know, but my health from gastric now reducing of weight is also it is add on to that. So it was big surprising for me, and I'm trying to contact Mr. Khadirwalli, but they don't have such phone conversation or like access. We have to go to proper appointment and on the spot. So they have a big fan followers and big. So I got some network, and the fellow is still stay in Rajasthan in some. Jaipur or somewhere. So that guy helped me sometime, but I am very surprising. Like nobody is, giving me the proper diet plan, like how we have to take means that millets. So health is, of course, it's a worldwide issue. But the thing is, personally, I'm speaking, I'm going through a very tough time. So I want to add millets in my daily life, but the thing is my weight is become reducing. So how and which type of content I could take, like how the quantity, can you guide me or somebody have to help me on this so that I can use, I will continue my millets diet again.
Yes, sir. So which part of Odisha do you stay, sir? Where you
I am
belong
from
to?
Berhampur, sir. I am southern Odisha. It is now Berhampur, Ganjam
Berhampur.
district.
Wonderful, wonderful.
It is
So in
just
that case,
Visakhapatnam's from
I know,
Visakhapatnam
I know,
to
I know.
3 hours.
I have lived in Odisha. I have lived in Odisha for
Okay, okay,
5 years,
okay, sir.
so I know
Okay,
the geography there. Maybe you could reach out to Koraput. Okay,
okay, okay,
so in Koraput, there are couple of enthusiasts, and then there are agriculture department professionals who are into advocating millets.
okay,
Okay, but I
okay.
rather than answering that part, I would first suggest you probably you could consult your dietitian or a doctor before you coming to a conclusion as to what could be the solution to the problems that you are facing. Okay, but to
Okay.
answer how can I get information about millets, or how can I get how can I be part of the things that are happening in your state, maybe I can share, or I can suggest you that could be the place where you could go to Koraput Agriculture Department.
Okay.
So
So
there you have.
Koraput, they have some branches, like you have some contacts, like numbers
No,
or
no, no.
some.
I think I know the gentleman, one of my seniors, Dr. Tapas Chandra Roy.
Okay.
He is quite a good enthusiast, and he has written books. He's done a
Okay.
lot of training programs, and I'm sure somebody like him should be able to help you there.
Sure. And one more thing, sir, like nowadays, of course, millets is now it's a very compulsory thing. So now people take it as, in a business way. Okay. So they made cookies, they made biscuits, they made everything. Okay. Like all sort of things. And in my area only, there are more than 3 4 outlets. Like they have selling their business with their own brands, own names. Like, okay. So they do all sort of cookies and all these things. So, do you think like consuming that, like, because of course it is in packed form, okay, and packaging form is never entertained in any type of food. So, millets in a preservative form is a good thing, like cookies or whatever thing, snacks, because khichdi and ambli, this is the things which we do at home, and suddenly we can, we can consume, and it's like food, daily food. But biscuits and snacks can one take, somebody can take, consume.
So definitely, because snacks and see, ultimately, if you want people to eat, so what is that they are used to eat? So they are used to eat, that is the reason researches are being done to provide millets in as wider forms as possible. Today, you may wonder, we have, millet-based pizzas, millet-based
Right, right,
burgers,
right, right,
okay, millet milk and all of that, which means
right,
we are
right.
just the technological efforts are in line to give
Oh,
wider choices to the consumer,
right, right, right. Got it, sir.
right?
Of course, sir. I will contact you guys again for any question
Yes,
and
yes.
query, and I will
Thank
contact the Koraput guy also. So from here, I will reach possible. I have to go to them, and I will meet personally to them, sir.
thank you,
Okay.
thank you, thank
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
you.
Thank you for joining us. I'd like to now unmute Mr. Prakash Gunasekaran. Sir, could you kindly unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for the good session.
Thank you
So
for joining us.
my question is, how can we preserve the millets for long term? For example, for a year. For example, right now El Nino is happening. For if I'm doing some business in the future, I'm planning to do the millet business. Not a It's a value added business. I'm thinking about it. If I procure something, how can we improve the shelf life, the raw millets? I'm asking about the raw millets to improve the shelf life. Then I can process it whenever it is required. For example, if I procure 1 ton of ragi or some other grains like millets, if I procure, how can I maintain the shelf life?
Uh, what are those millets that you are trying to procure, sir?
Sir, most of the things are Kudo millet. Actually, I'm from Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, so I'm planning to procure in my region millets.
Why? Because unless and until you're going to process them, I don't think storing as a grain should not be any trouble for you.
Okay,
Unless you want to make it into flour or you want to dehull them and then do things like that. But naturally harvested, I think you should not have much trouble in storing. Per se, the problem for the grains, whole grains, are not as much as that you find for the processed grains or processed products.
okay. So, is there should I have to do some pest control for that?
It depends, because what condition and what kind of place you are storing them. But generally, the accepted practices are there where you have storage conditions, what kind of measures are to be taken, especially for rodents and pests and things like that. I think if you're able to manage the prescribed formats, that should be enough. No additional effort is needed, is what I actually meant. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good, sir. Thank you very much.
Right.
Um, Moving on to the next question from the chat box. Can you please share the list of millets outlets? Suggest list of millet outlets at different locations. So you could you suggest some popular millet outlets or something like that that are there
Yes, of course.
across?
I do. So I think back then when I used to work at NutriHub, we used to deal with a lot of passionate entrepreneurs. So some of them are into uh, millet businesses, and some are doing good across different regions and states as well. So if you're in Hyderabad, I think one is definitely Millet Marvels. So that's founded by an actor turned entrepreneur. He's a doctor himself. So there's one restaurant. So there is also called as I think one more restaurant called as Millet Factory. Another passionate founder. So So these startups are incubated at NutriHub. So that's how I personally know them. Okay, and then a cafe called Arambam. Okay, it's a chain of cafes that is there in Bangalore and Hyderabad, and I think maybe you have Madam Rakul Preet Singh as one of the chief promoters of that particular chain of cafes. And apart from that, we also have a few more, outlets that are not exclusive to millets, but they are serving millets. But in Hyderabad itself, I think you can find there is another chain called Naya Millets. So they also offer millet, and in one in Delhi called Milletum. So one of our startups again, they have and in Rajasthan. So there is another restaurant, based startup called as Millets of Mewar. So these are the few ones that you can find. So definitely, but some could be hidden that I might not know. At least the
Right.
ones that I have worked with or that have associated with me, I'm able to recall and then spell them out.
Thank you so much for that information.
Thank you.
I'd
Thank you.
like to now unmute Miss Taranumani. Ma'am, could you please unmute yourself?
Thank you
Hello.
so much, sir. Hello, sir. Good morning.
Hello, hello,
So
hello.
the session was very good and informative. I'm a holistic health coach. Actually, had done my MSc microbiology, then suffered from various health issues. My son was diagnosed with alopecia at the age of 4 years.
Okay.
And then we studied a lot about it, and we got to know one of the issue is the gut health. So I
Oh,
started giving them millets, and I read that little millet is very good and it promotes hair growth. So literally after 8 or 9 months, all the patches which were found on his head got reduced, and hair started to grow back. So since
oh,
then,
wonderful.
yes, so that is one very big improvement in his health I had seen. Because at the age of 4 years, losing the hairs from the head and even the eyebrows, that had affected his mental health very much. He used to tell my classmates they get scared when they see me without the eyebrows and all. So after I introduced the millets, his health got improved. So likewise, every day I give one or the other millet like ragi, jowar, little millets, even the kodo millet or desserts or whatever we prepare, we give that with that only. So like that, I now personally work as a holistic health coach in a community called as Reshape Nation. And whenever there is issue related to some health issues and all, we promote millets.
Great,
Then
great.
I Thank you, sir. Then I started talking to my kids. I have two kids in their schools and all, like how we can introduce millets. We Once we had prepared on the occasion of my kid's birthday, we had prepared millet and mushroom jalebis.
Hmm.
Like that, we had introduced certain desserts and all. But to do on a bigger level, like my elder sister, she works in a school. So to introduce there in the midday meals and all, it's not officially possible, sir.
Hmm.
Like in private schools and all, when we talk to the administration and all, it's quite easy. But government, we have a lot of nutritional gap. So every day the kids are given rice, and occasionally one or the other day they'll be given milk and eggs. If we introduce millets, a lot of rural health can be improved. So is there anything from your end which we can use in this process?
Madam, I think because it's not you and I that who will be able to, do something that at our end here. Per se, it's a larger policy effort that the government, whichever, whether it is a state, union, or the local government that is there. So, them adopting such an initiative would add, especially women and child development departments, or maybe Anganwadis or school, midday meals. So those kind of initiatives are at their level. If they probably try and pilot, I think several pilots have been quite successful. So in Odisha, it was done. In Chhattisgarh, it is done. In Madhya Pradesh or in Karnataka, in parts of different parts of the country, these experiments are made and they have been quite successful. Maybe try to sensitize, through organizations would be
Okay.
a better choice than at an individual level.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Yes, sir. The only way to uh, put it to the level of midday meals is like probably by doing more talks like this, creating a lot of awareness about it so that it can reach the policymakers and actually you can
Yes.
change policies. So thank you for doing this again. Is it
Thank you.
okay to consume same millet for a prolonged period, or is there a system of consuming different millets?
So there is nothing. See, when you have choices, why
Yes,
would you not do it?
right.
So even if you
Also,
want to eat rice, you don't
indigenous.
want to eat the same white rice every day. You want to have it in a
Very right.
different forms. Likewise, naturally, we have a different choice. So if you are comfortable eating them, there's nothing wrong. But as you said, so in certain geographies, say ragi, for example, they for ages they've been consuming ragi. They don't get
Right.
bored out of
Right.
it. So it's
Right.
up to us to take a call on that.
Right. And mostly the indigenous varieties always are the best,
Best.
depending on the place you're at and weather
Yes,
conditions and
yes,
everything.
yes. Because it suits to
Otherwise,
your body and metabolism and all
right.
of it. Right.
S- there's one question I want to know more on millets, millet varieties that are good for sugar.
I probably see the something of this kind would be making a blankets statements. I would not want to actually direct some, but definitely yes, they are known and proven to regulate sugar. But doing your bit of research, and because everybody has their own individual inherent adaptability or resistance to every commodity that you eat. So just because it is good, if you have tried and not worked out, maybe you have to look for a consultation with a dietitian or a physician would be better. But yes, they are proven to be beneficial to regulate your uh, blood sugar.
Thank you, sir. Uh,
Yes.
like to unmute the last participant with the question. Uh, kindly unmute yourself, please.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for the lovely session. I want to
Thank you.
share my story as well as I have one question that
Okay.
I when I delivered my second child, from early
Okay.
on, everything was good. She was a very healthy child, but when she turned around 2 years, then we realized that there are so many things that are off in her. And when I started looking for natural solutions, then I came across with Dr. BRC. So he gave
Okay.
his protocol, and his protocol includes millets. So there,
Okay.
from there onwards, I was introduced to millets because I've never eaten millets in my entire life. So
Okay.
there, from there onwards, I got the concept of positive millet, neutral millet, and negative millets. So then I followed that protocol. Then I introduced with Khader Ali sir. So my research was going on, and I was so this is my background. But now I have seen positive results in my daughter. She is completely vocal. She's free from all the illnesses as well. So millet works wonderfully well for her and for us as well. But now I want to commercialize it. So the process of making millets, as advocated by these doctors or Khadravali sir, is that you soak the millet first, then you process it, or then you make the flour of it. Otherwise, it won't be beneficial. So I want to clarify that if we buy the millets in bulk and we just mill it, then will it be adversely affected to your gut, because they have contain phytic acids, and it won't be acceptable for body in that sense?
No, madam. I think probably I would probably differ with you at that end. So definitely with huge or high regards to Dr. Kader Wali that way for very aggressively advocating millets. But the point here is each millet is different for its processing and from a validation perspective. So for not all the millets, that soaking may be necessary, and for all millets, it's not that soaking would be adding in a value to whatever you're going to mill them, right? So I think you need to do a bit of research there before, because if you are going to experiment it from a business point of view,
Yeah.
so I believe some effort is needed in that direction
Okay.
than
So I
relying.
am trying to I'm trying to do a millet business, but specifically focuses on the positive millets because I have consumed those only, and those affect really positively on my family.
Madam, there is nothing like positive and negative millets per se. Millets themselves are all positive. Okay, so
Okay.
you can't find something like rice, positive wheat, negative millet. Perhaps why that connotation is being built is because the the ones that you call them as negative millets are already abundantly available. Apparently, that is why the word negative might have been
Mhm.
there. But equally, they are competent in terms of nutrition and in terms of the health benefits that they are accruing.
Okay.
So maybe I would not agree with the fact that these millets are good millets, these millets are bad millets. All millets are actually good, both for
Yeah.
you and for the planet.
Okay. And if I want to formulate a commercial on a commercial scale, any recipe, then whom to connect or to whom to connect to validate that recipe?
Madam, you can reach out to NutriHub. Okay, so there is a dedicated, setup in place. There are incubation programs that you need to enroll yourself or sign up for. So that
Okay.
will eventually open doors for different avenues that you are looking for. Maybe developing a product or validating a product, or rather upscaling the product, or
Yeah.
any which ways that you would want to pursue it. So it can be, thought of at NutriHub.
Okay. And one more thing that Baramati is also one incubation center, I guess.
Yes,
So
yes, yes. I know.
that is closer to Pune. So which one will you suggest? Going to Baramati or going to Hyderabad?
No, no, Baramati is also, yes, yes. So in fact, it started. We were the ones who put in the initial efforts there. I remember. So I mean, NutriHub was the technologically backstopping partner, or rather, they were helping the KVK Baramati to build that particular center. Yes, it is equally good. So no doubt. Or if you are in around Solapur, you can also reach out Solapur. So there is a regional center of Indian Institute of Millets Research. So there also there are experts who should be able to guide you. So that option is also
Thank you so much.
there.
Thank you for joining us now.
Right.
So
Right.
one last question.
Yes, please.
Um, for millet startup, can you suggest some funding agencies or are there any government support programs to millet startups? What are the protocols for that?
Okay. So just taking your particular case, Trishan. So since you belong to the state of Gujarat, so there is Anand Agriculture University, if you have heard of it.
Right.
It's in Anand. Okay. So
25
Anand
kilometers
Agriculture
from this.
Research Foundation. Yes, yes. So the university has an incubation center. Okay. So that foundation operates a scheme called as RKVY Raftar. Okay, Rashtriya Krishi Vikasa Yojana Raftar program, which gives opportunity for the startups both at early stage or at growth stage startups, and they support them with a grant in aid. So this program is there in most of the states. That's why I specifically said to you.
Right.
For example, at NutriHub also we operate that. Okay, so but
Right.
most of the incubation centers prefer that the entrepreneur be of that particular state to give them the grants. Okay, but otherwise
So
you
this
can reach
question
out
is,
to NutriHub if you are doing in millets. But if it's going to be an allied or any other agri-tech or agriculture sector, it could be Anand Agriculture University.
this question is to Sanjana from Chennai, who also
Right,
asked a
right.
question like
So
this.
if it's
So
for her, I think she can reach out to TNAU, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University. So they also operate this particular program, and then definitely she'll be able to get some support from that.
right, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and patience for answering each and
Thank
every
you.
one of the questions so elaborately. And it was wonderful having you on this session. Sir,
Likewise.
I'd like to request you to kindly join this breakout room link that will pop up on your screen in about a few seconds. for 10 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
And we'll conclude our meeting over there. And you can say your parting words if you'd like to all the
Thank you
participants.
very much. I think thank you very much to the team Vishwa. So it was quite a good opportunity for me to interact and understand from different participants as well. Of course, as my little effort, I tried to transfer the knowledge whatever I had from the millets perspective. But all said and done, so this is going to be a good cause that you guys are working out. So support always.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It was a privilege having you. Uh, Pratyusha, I request you to please project the breakout room link for everybody who's still in the session. If you'd like to share this particular session with your friends and family and people who are interested into millets, study more about it, you can share this link that I've shared in the